my name is Claire Ledayer, her ladyship, of Bernie Dragon's Mist, but I'm kind of almost a hop skip and a jump over a mountain to the Anthill Canyon as well. So they said I could. Also, because show off things, I think. Here I am. Why did I choose to make this object? This is my eventual Kingdom A&S project. It's insane and it's crazy and it's 28 stitches per inch of reeled silk. Reeled silk is not that easy to buy commercially. It's usually spun silk, which is a different technique. And then, I don't know what size I need yet, so that would be very expensive in the long run. Plus, someone over there who's my Laurel got lots of points for processes, and so I figured I'd do more processes, because that's good. So. It's also smaller than a raising machine. Honestly. And they live in a box in when they're alive. They're not currently alive. So I raised my own silkworms. And I'm on year number 3. So this is what I'm entering, the process, or the in-progress process of this year's cocoons that have not yet been reeled. That are also the progeny of last year's silkworms. I did not buy eggs this year. They were in my fridge and then they hatched. I had mixed success. How far am I into completion? Time-wise, I am not sure. Not sure at all, because I don't know how long it's going to take me to knit that bag. As for the steps so far, I bought the tree. I've raised 3 batches over the last 3 years of silkworms and gotten generation 2, which is very successful, but you know, I gotta tweak that a little. And I still have to reel the silk cocoons, dye the silk, and knit the silk. So that's where I am at all this. Is it coming out the way you wanted? Well, look, I don't have dead silkworms. They make cocoons. Huzzah! They make cocoons again, even better.
If I can interrupt,
yes.
Out of curiosity, how do you plan on dyeing them?
Well,
are you going to use pigments? Are you going to use dyes?
I mean, it's not going to be synthetics. That's not a thing. The colors in the bag are blue, green, olive green, light beige, and gold beige. And one of those may have actually been a yellow, and then a blue violet. No, so that's in the threads, and then anyway, and then not the.
I think the people
it's
might have been busy
the beige,
because
the violet,
well,
and the white for the bag itself. So probably going to be Umbilicaria lichen, which I have not collected in this side of the state, or the side of the country, because they're much rarer here than they are on the east side of the country. I've traded for some. The green will probably be a combination of weld and woad. And then the yellow will just be the weld because those are pretty common colors.
So pretty much you're using like a vegetable base to dye, right?
Yes, or I could do cochineal for the purpley color, but I haven't quite figured that one out yet.
How are you going to separate?
okay.
I have not figured that one out yet either yet. So, probably alum mordant. But the lichen would, if I did the lichen, actually it wouldn't need that kind of mordant. It would be a ferment with ammonia in a jar for 6 months. So this is, I'm going to do some tester samples and see what colors I get with things, and then figure out exactly which one I want to get with that is. Yeah. So my eventual plan is basically as close to a replica as I can. Because people have made things that are that small, and people have made bags that are bigger with their own motifs. Yes, but nothing that crazy. It is 8.1 by 9.7 inches and 28 rows and 28 stitches per inch. So very tiny. I don't know which needle size I'll need yet either, but I have everything from a 0 down to a 6 0. And I'll be testing it. So I'll do test gauges. And that one says she can help me draw out wire to a 3 0. So honestly, I've done zeros. I mean,
I knit something similar to this quad.
It'll be doable, but it'll be slow. So the year I finish will just be the year I enter. It'll just be slow. It may take me several years to finish the bag, to be honest. I don't plan on rushing it. And
I am.
yeah, it'll.
Yes.
Have you haven't reeled any of the silk from any of the
I
generations
just
yet?
got the picture. The second picture in the handout is the device for reeling the silk, and I just picked it up from a friend a couple weeks ago, and just have not had any downtime yet. And I was going to try to build my own, which would not have been as good, because that round wheel in the middle is a counter, actually. And so every single notch on that wheel is a yard, and when it hits the stick on the the wheel that clicks, and I'll be able to count the clicks and then multiply that by the number of notches and know how many yards I put on a thing, and then I can weigh that and get an idea of how many yards to count as a bag later. But
It's
I'm
been
just gonna keep going
being
until I have
circulated.
enough silk, honestly. So
Where did you buy your, or where did you get your original silkworms? I would
the
imagine you bought the egg or you bought the actual worm.
yes, that's been up. The name escapes me. The cocoonery? The silk cocoonery?
So you say the bag is made of real silk?
Yes, it is
It's not
S-plied.
spun at
It is
all.
S-plied real silk.
Okay.
Yes,
It is plied still.
yes, it is
I
plied.
like your flower crowns. I like them.
Silkwormshop.com. I got the initial eggs there, as well as cocoon frames and some powdered food that you could sort of cook into sort of a cheese paste. That's how they described it. Then you can shave it, and that's what you would feed the babies. I didn't really do that very well. You can also just this year I didn't even bother with that. You feed the babies the tiniest little leaflets, and as they get bigger, you feed them bigger leaves because their jaws are too tiny to eat a full leaf for the first week. Because they start out. I'll just pass. They start out with the eggs this big. And they grow this big. In a month. In only a month.
In a month?
In a month.
Those are
That
insane.
is insane.
They are literally the hungry caterpillars. They grow 30,000 times their size in a month. And by the end, they're eating every 2 to 3 hours.
Those are the babies?
And I would imagine, I don't know, but I would imagine
Oh,
that
wow.
Let's see the
once they lay an egg, that's pretty much
Yes, so
their
for the eggs, they will have been hatched as tiny, tiny little things. This was how they hatched, and then they were very tiny, and they just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until some of them 3 to 4 inches long. Some of
So
them
is there a
smaller.
specific like variety? Like
Bombyx mori is the domesticated one that is like if you buy a silk fabric, it's going to be Bombyx mori. There are over 500 different species, and there is some. But they're all still wild, so they get much less of a yield out of it. It's a little bit more labor intensive to do that. I just got a book actually about a bunch of techniques with the Muga silkworms in India. The book is this thick. I've got to go digest that still. But there are some different species in there. And then, importantly, for those who follow me, on the top row, that large dead moth is Chonkus maximus, and her cocoon is to the right. So
okay, is that a real name?
that's what we call her. Chonkus maximus, pride of her species.
and that's the egg.
That is her cocoon that she hatched out of. We let some hatch to breed, and then some we just put in the freezer to not breed.
Out of curiosity, what's the lifespan of your silkworms?
So the bottom month is the caterpillars, about 10 days in the cocoon, and about 5 days as a moth. Once they hatch out of the cocoon, if you let them hatch out, because by that point they've gnawed through that one long strand of silk and it's an inferior product, all their job is to do is to get it on with each other and lay eggs. That's it. They cannot eat it on the mouth.
Oh, wow. So they have a very short lifespan.
Very short
They
lifespan.
can't-
And as it says in the documentation of things that I learned way more about than most people want to know about their mating habits, they can have threesomes. And also, the male just kind of is down with the first one, but then goes and has fun with the other female silkworms, and thus can lay infertile eggs that are yellow. So these are fertile eggs. They never did hatch. I think they got too dried out in the
So
fridge.
tell us a little bit about the historical context of this. So you've got the modern
Yes.
methodologies and the raising down, and you've got some great displays and stuff. So tell us a little bit about it from a historical perspective.
Well, which part of the historical? How they first discovered it, et cetera, all of it. All right, all the
Totally up
things.
to you.
So the legend, as it were, which
Because
predates
we're
written,
judging,
yeah, I was gonna say the legend which predates Chinese written history is that a cocoon fell in a princess's teacup, and she went to go pick the cocoon out of her teacup, and that long strand started to unfurl. When I process the silk, they will be in boiling hot water to do it. And then
It's just
they
a
just
person
said,
there.
okay, well, let's see if we can make a fabric from this, and discovered how lovely and strong it was.
Yeah, but there's no table or
And tried to keep that, of course, as a monopoly within their country.
Why?
And there's just various reports of how people smuggled it out into a different country, putting it up in a Corson's
No, I
beer
mean,
pun,
like, why
smuggling
is
it
there a
out in a
person
Bunk's
there
walking
whenever
stick,
there's no table?
along with what
Maybe
it
their
ate,
order is
because
to go.
most importantly, they only eat mulberry. And they only prefer white mulberry. Which is why I
Or maybe I
started
don't have enough
years ahead of
tables
time
for
by buying a white
people.
mulberry tree.
That could also
And I
be it.
frequently get the question of, well, what do they eat? You should get a mulberry tree. Well, that was the first thing I started with. Thank you, yes. So, it was a very long time. When the Europeans first weren't actually sure what silk was created from. Like, does the silk fabric grow on the tree? Is it like mulberry bark kind of thing being made into a fabric? They had no idea it came from the cocoons of the silkworm until someone had smuggled them out. And by that point, the monopoly was broken and everyone starts raising their own. In a mass-produced scale, they've got stacks and stacks of baskets, like in a shelving system, basically, where they're raising them in the baskets because it's very important to get the leaves and the frass, which would be their poop, whatever dry leaves are left over, and whatever silk they've started spinning ahead of time, it just kind of happens, out because you want to keep them clean. It's an insect, they're very susceptible to disease. And you also want to make sure that the leaves you feed them are dry. That said, one year it was raining a bit, and they were eating the leaves too fast, and it was not an issue. So, they get all their water from the leaves too, so it doesn't hurt them.
So when you say dry, you mean not wet as opposed to dried until it's
Fresh, but not dried out. When they start drying out, then I just replace the leaves and I keep doing it. And I start out where I'm getting the poop and the leaves out once a day, and then by the end it's a couple times a day, and I'm just so yes, they were originally on trays, and they still do that in some places today, but I have cats. It doesn't work. So I have a little terrarium where I put them in a petri dish, and then they move to the butterfly house because it's very important that I keep the cats from getting in. And I'm not raising them on huge commercial scale. Last year was the biggest number, and I think we had 72. And 16 were allowed to cocoon, and the rest went in the freezer. Or sorry, when I say allowed to cocoon, allowed to fully cocoon and hatch out as possible. The rest went in the freezer after the first couple days to kill them, so they wouldn't emerge. And by that point, actually, I was having to say, you gotta start cocooning, or I will make choices because you're eating my tree bare.
I'll just be chilling
So,
here.
trees would be a good idea, but I don't have to drink for that.
I'll just be chilling here.
In Asia now, and back then, because of the way the climate is, they can keep doing it as long as the rainy season is going. It's batch after batch after batch. And then when it gets to the dry season, they'll shrink their production down. So it's just a few eggs that keep producing. And I think that's why this generation was so bad, was that it was in my fridge drying out for so long. And that messed with the proteins inside the eggs. Because they were very idiotic.
Kind of like your big production time, it's more tied into the seasons.
Yeah, it's definitely very seasonal. So, and I didn't know that I've probably gone a little too long with them until
May I
I
cut
talked
through
to
real
a gal down in Texas who's done massive amounts compared to me, several thousand. That makes more sense because they were not smart this year. They're bugs. They're not stupid smart anyway, but these guys were failing to make their cocoons and turning into a pupae and then dying. So, or wanting to pupate underneath their mesh and in their poo. And guys, no, kept moving them back, and it was not as streamlined as last year. So there were some new things learned for sure. Cool. I think next year we'll just buy eggs again. So I didn't have. I've had about
something about genetics may have played a part with it.
That's what she thought as well, is that when they dry it out in the fridge, that messed with the genetics. And I've currently got them with more of a cracked lid, and I'm checking the paper towel that's in there wet. But my fridge is known to be very dry, so I don't have mushrooms mold in my fridge. I just dry them out in a paper bag and put them in a jar. So it's very dry.
Why?
So, could he have documented it as a Byzantine mini?
Cool. Anything else you want to tell us?
I've done much more research, well, basic scratching the surface Wikipedia research about history and things of that nature. They are on my blog. The hashtag for the 3 different posts that I've done about silkworms before is at the bottom of the page, as well as some YouTube videos where you can see them all crawling around, which is kind of fun. Yeah. Silkworms are cool. We like it when they get to the age where you can hear them eating. Kind of fun. They're just nom 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 on the leaf.
Are they nocturnal?
They could be if we fed them, and then they just eat until there's no food, and then they stop for a while, and then we feed them more food, and they're just waving their little heads. Saying, feed me, feed me. They're very, very hungry.
Feed me, Seymour.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting things that I found out along the way. Their poop is a Chinese herbal remedy, is a tea. And I do know somebody who has drank it before, and she said it just tasted like tea. So I will try it at some point. I have a bunch that I put on the food dehydrator and then put in the Ziploc. All they eat's mulberry, and it's not got chemicals sprayed on it, so it's fine. It's just little digested mulberry. Plus, I was gonna say plus.
Yeah, that's what they
It's
call
more
it.
the idea of eating
Yeah.
it. This is when you present a cup of it.
Stomach ailments for treats.
Next year's brewing.
Also, there are people like Seamus who, if you found out that I knew that and didn't try it, might give me flack for that. So
She's not the only
we
one.
are, yeah, and that one. So we are the
poop.
poke.
He'd give you poop for that.
Yeah, exactly. But
Okay.
since I know somebody who has gone over, I have a gal I know in Eugene who has gone over to Laos where they're also still harvesting them. And I've seen videos where they've got a little cook pot on the fire and the silk is coming sort of wound between some bamboo things that can spin. And they're going like this with a chopstick. And then it lands in a basket behind them and they're putting river rocks on top of it to keep it from tangling. And by the time it's hit the basket, it's dry. They're professionals. No, thanks. That sounds very scary, so I was gonna reel it. But she tried the tea before. She says it just tastes like tea, so I'll try it. She lived, I'll live. Poke it with a stick science. You know?
Okay.
Not
Thank
the
you.
first time I've done poke it with stick science.
Probably one of those things that someone discovered by accident.
Yeah.
Would you like your?
Yes, you may keep that. You can keep that if you want.
I don't